Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of UA Eats. I'm UA, and we are still in St. Louis, Missouri for another barbecue review, and this time we're at Pappy Smokehouse. Now, this is probably hands down the most famous barbecue restaurant in all of St. Louis, and there's a lot of great barbecue joints here, so it's really saying a lot if one place has pretty much stood the test of time and is unanimously regarded as the most famous and the best barbecue restaurant in the whole area. As I mentioned in my last video, I actually went to college in St. Louis. I didn't leave campus too often, but when I did, we would eat like an eclectic selection of random things, just whatever we were craving. But whenever we wanted a hearty barbecue meal, we came here pretty much every single time. I just remember it being unbelievably good, and I don't know, like every time I got to eat here, it was a real treat. I wonder though if there's a little bit of nostalgia there for me having such a high opinion of it, and especially since the last video we went to the chain around here, Sugarfire, and I thought Sugarfire was incredible. Like that far exceeded my expectations. That was already one of the top barbecues I've had in a long while. I remembered Pappy's just being unbelievably good, so let's put Pappy's to the test again. Let's see if it's not just my nostalgia talking. Let's see if my nostalgia and all the critics and the locals are right, and that Pappy's is the #1 barbecue in St. Louis, so let's go check it out. Now, we may be in luck. It is a Wednesday at 1 o'clock, so on one hand it's off-peak because it's a weekday, but it is peak lunchtime. But oftentimes this place has a line, pretty much out the door and around the block. So to be honest, it's freezing as heck in St. Louis today. It's gotta be below 20 degrees, so maybe people just don't wanna brave the cold. And I think some of these are to-go parking, so maybe there's a bigger demand for to-go parking than dine-in. But we could be in luck today. Honestly, guys, I have never seen it this empty before. Usually, at least this hallway is completely packed. Usually, you gotta expect to wait at least 30 minutes to get seated, if not an hour. Alright guys, so this was the first time in my entire life where I was able to get into Pappy's without waiting at all. I mean, usually I've had to wait at least 30 minutes bare minimum. This time, maybe 30 seconds. It's never ever been like this for me before, not once in my entire life. But because they have such like a efficient system here, they take your order at the front, and then they seat you, and then when your food is ready, they kind of bring the food out to you that way. So actually, the food is actually already here. So I sat down and then they called my name and they brought it out. So really, really efficient, just something to keep in mind. Now, if you look on the inside, it's just like any other casual barbecue restaurant. And yeah, in the back there, you kind of see the smokers. You can exit that way, and you can take a look at the smokers back there. Super unpretentious, fast casual kind of environment. Very typical barbecue joint. A lot of the decorations here are very St. Louis Cardinals pride. Baseball is huge in St. Louis. It's really entirely a baseball town, so the Cardinals are a really big part of the culture and life here. I want to show you the menu real quick. So in the back, they have a menu on the board, but that might mostly be for takeout, I think, even though it does look really nice. Most people just order off of these paper menus, so I'll just show you real quick before we eat. So it's a pretty decent medium-sized menu. They have a decent amount of sides and a decent amount of meats, but to be honest, this place is really known for their ribs. So coming here and not getting ribs is like seeing an Eminem concert and leaving before he plays Lose Yourself. So the ribs here are what make this place famous. But they have some pretty good sides too. In particular, the fried corn on the cob I remember really liking. So we'll do a fried corn on the cob, and I guess we'll also do a baked beans, why don't we? I hear those are pretty decent too. They have some other items here as well, which I will admit I have not really tried, but the main thing to get here are ribs and another meat and a side. So I would do this combo where you get a half slab or a full slab, and then you pay extra for a second meat. So that's what we wound up doing. We got a half slab of ribs, a baked beans, a fried corn on the cob, and I'm going to presume that the, yep, I'm gonna presume that the pulled pork is underneath. Just look at how delicious these ribs look. I mean, the ribs at Sugarfire looked fire as well, but this looks almost next level. Pretty much exactly as I remembered them, with a beautiful bark all the way across. Check out that beautiful fried corn on the cob as well. Love that beautiful deep fried glisten on that yellow sweet corn. And the beans are not looking bad either. So let's cut off a rib, why don't we? Although somehow it's not looking quite as tender as Sugarfire, but you know, maybe it's just the angle at which I'm cutting it. Looks like we freed a rib, and let's try one of the ribs, why don't we? Let's try another bite. You know, it's good, but I guess if I can be honest, it's not as good as I remembered. Like, I feel like this wasn't really very fall off the bone, like, and it was a little bit on the dry end. Like, if you take a look at these, like, rib Klingons, you can see that, you know, like, they don't really come off very easily. Even when I was cutting it, like, do you guys remember when we ate at Sugarfire? The rib was just completely falling apart. But look, when I, like, poke it with my knife, it's kind of staying one solid piece. And the bark is nice. Like, I like the spice flavor. The skin is kind of dry. I mean, the rib in general is kind of dry, if I can be honest. Like, let me try something. Let's try just pulling this off with our hands. Okay, so I was able to separate it, but as you can see, the whole thing kind of just stuck together more. It's not quite as tender. The flavor is good, but it's not as tender as I remember. I don't know. It's not bad, but I feel like it's not spectacular. It's not great. I came all the way to St. Louis. I sort of did expect a little bit more. There are ribs of this quality in New York. The ones I had at the other restaurant were mind-blowing, but this is I'm just gonna say I'm a little disappointed. Just look at me pulling the meat off. Look at that, right? Like, I kind of have to, like, exert some force to pull it off. It doesn't just, like, disintegrate in my hands. Which you want from good barbecue. And just look at this part here. Doesn't it just look a little bit on the dry end? Like, there's a better shot. There's a better angle. I mean, just look. Doesn't that just look like a little bit dry? I mean, yeah, it's not, like, completely dried out, but I don't know. I mean, it's not bad, but I feel like I was expecting more. It's definitely not legendary pork status, I would say. Let's see if some of the sauces help. Now, this is a Jane's sweet sauce. This is a Carolina vinegar hoodoo sauce. Guessing that's spicy. Pappy's original. We got a winner. To be honest, I'm not really a big fan of the Carolina vinegar style. I've had it before in North Carolina, so we're gonna just pass on that. Let's try a Pappy's original sauce and see if that helps the situation a little bit. After all, a saucy sweet rib is what St. Louis is known for, right? Okay, I'm not gonna lie, the sauce is pretty good. The sauce absolutely helped a lot. It's not too sweet, it's well balanced, but I don't know. I kind of wish that the pork, you know, the meat tasted good on its own. I feel like it shouldn't just be like a vehicle to eat the sauce. If you want to add sauce, that's fine. And in barbecue, I think it's a little encouraged, but you want the meat to stand on its own too. This is an excellent sauce. I would recommend it to anyone. Not too sweet, well balanced, but I don't know. Let's try the deep fried corn though, why don't we? Let's give this a shot. And it's still warm to the touch. So let's eat this before it cools down anymore. And just look at how beautiful that corn looks. Oh, this is exactly how I remembered this. Incredible. Every kernel is just fried beautifully golden. Wow. I mean, just check it out. I mean, there are some corns kind of like the corns are like deep fried on the outside, but the inside areas that I guess are less touched by the oil are not as fried and, you know, retain more of that sweetness. So it's buttery and oily and crispy on the outside, yet sweet on the inside, and not overly fried, so, you know, you have that moisture from the corn too. So it's not like you're basically eating popcorn on a stick. This is amazing. I'm gonna finish this for sure, no matter how unhealthy it is. But next up, baked beans. And these are some good looking beans, if you ask me. Where have you been all my life? Don't they say bean instead of bin in England? Anyways, I thought it was funny. Anyways, all right. Look at these gooey beans, but I feel like they're gonna be good. Oh man. These sides are incredible. I don't think I've ever had the beans here before, but I feel like I missed out. I mean, just look at how thick these baked beans are. You know, definitely not like some cheap baked beans from a can. They're so thick and so smoky. Like, you don't just taste that delicious bean flavor and this delicious, like, gooey viscosity. Like, it's not syrupy. Like, it tastes like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, almost like a caramelly texture, but it doesn't taste sweet like caramel. To any of my Asian viewers, I don't know, do you guys know natto? It's like a Japanese fermented bean. I really can't stand it, but Japanese people really like it. It's like, you know, different cultural tastes. This has like the same texture of that natto, if you guys know what that is. Furthermore, I think they have brisket in this. Like, you taste some smoked brisket, and that smoked barbecue flavor is throughout the whole dish. You taste it in every bean, you taste it in the sauce and everything. So this is just an outstanding baked bean dish. It's the best, I'm just gonna say, these are the best baked beans I've ever had in my life. As Guy Fieri would say, out of bounds. Oh, I think last is the pulled pork. So let's give that a shot. All right, so move this rib aside. And yeah, there's the pulled pork at the bottom, and it looks like it's a little dry. I wonder if they gave me the smoked turkey by mistake. That is some pretty dry looking pork, but let's give it a chance, why don't we? Yeah, and it's still looking dry. Like, it looks like a leftover Thanksgiving dinner, you know, about to be turned into a budget sandwich for the week. All right, let's not judge a book by its cover, I guess. Okay, it's very dry, it's very bland, it's very underseasoned, and to be honest, there's a bit of a kind of a gross aftertaste. It almost tastes kind of old. I hope that's not the case, but it does have like a strange aftertaste, so, oh, this is a big miss. It's dry, it's bland, it has a weird aftertaste that's really off-putting. I'm not even gonna add a sauce to it to try to save it, just because, I don't know, I really don't like what I put in my mouth, so definitely don't order that here. But anyways, guys, this is a lot of food, so yeah, we're definitely gonna finish these sides, and then I guess we'll take a lot of the ribs home. So yeah, gonna step outside to share my final thoughts in a bit. Hey guys, so I'm no longer at Pappy's. I needed a bit of a pick-me-up after that kind of disappointing lunch. So I'm actually at the famous Ted Drew's, a pretty good dessert place in St. Louis that specializes in concretes. It's kind of like ice cream, but it's so thick that, look, you can hold it upside down and it won't fall out. Kind of neat, right? But yeah, I mean, I feel like Pappy's, I don't know, maybe I kind of had nostalgia for it, or I don't remember it being that mediocre. It really was a disappointing experience. The food was not quite as good as I remembered it, and it was often dry and in some cases tasted kind of old. The sides were really good. Both of the sides were outstanding, but as much as it's important to have good sides, at a barbecue place, you're really there for the meat. You really want the meat to be excellent, and if the meat's not up to par, then unfortunately the restaurant's just not really up to par. So it pains me to say this because we used to love going to Pappy's back in the day. That was like our, that was like our splurge spot. But unfortunately, I just gotta say that I feel Pappy's is no longer the restaurant it once was. It's no longer the best barbecue in St. Louis, not by a long shot. And yeah, it's a kind of a tourist trap at this point. So, but anyways, guys, it's not quite as cold as it was earlier, so I'm gonna eat some of my vanilla custard from Ted Drew's. So, have you been to Pappy's? Do you agree with me that Pappy's has fallen off, or do you disagree with me? And what's your favorite St. Louis barbecue joint? And what are your other favorite places to eat at in St. Louis? It doesn't have to be barbecue. Let me know in the comments because great minds eat alike. If you like my videos, make sure you like and subscribe. That way you stay up to date whenever I post another video. Yeah. Until next time, I'll see you later.